First, I started off by making a rough outline of where I wanted my cabin to be. Here I cut pieces 1/4 inch shorter than the height of the foundation and about 1 inch wide. Make sure you cut a lot of these. You'll see why in a second. Take those pieces and glue them to the foundation of your cabin. I found this piece in my scraps and thought it would make a nice set of stairs. I liked the way they looked, but I didn't like how low they were on the foundation. I took another scrap piece, glued that to the bottom of the stairs, clamped them together, and let it dry. I took some of the pieces that I cut and covered the side of the stairs. Next, I mapped out a rough guesstimate of where I wanted the cabin to be. Like I mentioned before, this entire project is going to be made out of scrap pieces of wood, and well, it turned out I had scraps in my scrap piece of wood pile that unfortunately just weren't able to be used. Cut these pieces to the desired width you want the pieces on the side of your cabin to be. I then took some of those pieces and visualized the lines that I had previously made. I made any adjustments that I thought I needed to square it up. Then I separated the pieces based on length. This will determine where they're located on the cabin. Like I mentioned before about the technical difficulties, my phone decided not to record the first 3 layers, but I'll catch you up. I set the pieces down on the rough outline and trimmed them to size. The next layer I trimmed off approximately 1/2 inch from each side. Pretty much every layer you're going to want 2 long pieces and 2 shorter pieces to have the overlap you see here. For the windows, you just decide how wide you want them and cut the pieces accordingly. Okay, this next part is definitely not a necessity, but I just got this new Dremel tool for Christmas and I really wanted to try it out. This part also isn't a necessity, but for me I didn't really like the small tiny gaps in between each piece of wood. If you want to do this step, just take some wood filler and fill it into any gaps that you see. Then take a damp cloth or paper towel and rub off the excess. Next, I glued together some trim for the windows and I glued it into place. I also cut up some trim for the doorway, which you see me installing now. I cut up some shutters and added more trim to the windows. Now I started on the side of the roof. Take pieces and put them next to each other. Decide what angle you want your roof to be at and make the cuts accordingly. For the roof I used 3 pieces of scrap wood and cut out room for the hinges. I gave a little bit of overlay covering the porch and about ½ inch of overlay on the sides of the cabin. Next I got started on the porch. I set up some posts and I cut up some pieces for the railing. At this point I was pretty happy with how this was turning out, and I feel as though this is a good middle point to say that I will never ask for subscriptions or likes. But, if you learned something new or saw something you liked, feel free to hit those buttons. Either way, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Even though this is a cabin build, I really wanted to try to make a rustic barn door. I decided I wanted a rock bed to surround the front of the porch, so I measured out to the end of the stairway. Pretty early on in this build, I decided that I wanted a pond in the front yard. I've never done anything like this before, so I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I poured in some acrylic water and crossed my fingers that the hot glue would hold up the mold. If you've ever watched Dr. Pimple Popper, you know just how satisfying that was. Now that the majority of the exterior is done, I got started hanging the lights on the interior and the exterior. If you're in Connecticut or the Northeast, I highly recommend stopping by Whimsy's Dollhouse Shop in Greenwich. They have endless amounts of miniature items and pretty much anything you could ever think of. They made furnishing the cabin go effortlessly, and it was such a pleasure meeting the owner.